Dear everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm here to share Stuart Maloney's opinion in his patient-led case presentation of the journey he made discovering which tape would help him best. Stuart and I met online. As part of his journey, he was looking for tape research, tape articles, and found my name. He is a 39-year-old young man with a wife and a job and happy. His main symptoms because of his CP are the shaking of his hands and arms, a slight limp and slurred speech. But I love his mentality of why should I settle for good if I can achieve better? So he was pretty shocked to find that after having been discharged as a teenager that there is very little care for adults with CP, so he took it into his own hands. He decided to buy some tape, look at some videos, and discovered that it really did make an impression. I'm glad he did have this whim, trying to use the K-tape on his arms. Kinesiology K-tape, it has many names. It's elastic therapeutic tape, because he has slowly but surely found the best. These are some of the applications that he has trialed. Cerebral palsy is caused by damage to the brain or abnormalities in the brain when it's developing, and it can really disrupt the ability to control movement and maintain posture and balance. Ataxia is one of the types of cerebral palsy that we see that people have problems with force, regulation, rhythm, and accuracy. It's a type of action tremor that when you try to really move your hand to pick up something, the closer you come to the object, the worse the tremor gets. Children and adults with CP exhibit a variety of symptoms, and they can include loss of coordination, spasticity, weakness, variation in muscle tone, and a number of other problems, including the tremor. Very little research is being conducted into tremors specifically, and I'm only aware of one single case studies and the work that Alison Taylor is doing. In this single case study, a patient with left-sided hemiataxia had tape applied to her back as well as her affected leg. The SARA ataxia scale was used, and it really did improve on all points, making the results positive. So that was fantastic. The second study was conducted in 2013, also using the neuromuscular taping method, a method in which you apply tape to skin lines. This young girl underwent this study, and they looked at the kinematics of the upper limb being recorded by an optoelectrical system, which looked at movement duration, jerk, and number of unit movements indices, and with the tape on, it indicated a faster, smoother, and less segmented movement. They were not specifically looking at the tremor, but they did see differences in quality. And if you want to see some recent work that colleague Alison Taylor has been doing on her YouTube channel called Hand Education Therapy, she is documenting a lot of videos of her work, which includes using tuning forks and scraping tools and kinesiotape, and she is addressing tremors as well. So when Stuart and I met online, he had already used a number of brands, but I suggested a few more, and he trialed them as well. We exchanged ideas. I heard what he had already been doing, but we talked about these different brands, how much stretch to use, how large the application should be, and should he use mini tapes, yes or no. In my skin approach, I advocate using mini tapes. In his case, being a healthy adult, using small tapes was not effective. He needed large bits. Our goal being which application would be best to address his tremors. The idea of this test comes from Stuart. He suggested, he is showing us his test without any tape, as in pouring water into another bottle, and showing us how intensive his tremors can be and how difficult it is for him to pour water from one bottle to the other. He then had tape applied to his hands, and as you can see, there is quite a difference. His therapist helped him with the different applications that he had been finding by watching videos online. We also use some tapes to address the trunk, and this is the diaphragm tape. You could say it's a very large mini diaphragm tape which he had applied, and the results of this tape on his pouring. My idea was that it could have a positive effect, but as you will see, it did not. Not as good as the hand tape was. He also tried this tape on his back, you could say more or less on the extensors, and we will see the effect of this tape. Not really good. Even he noticed he couldn't even lift the bottle anymore, so this was not a good tape for him. So then he tried this application of tape on top of his shoulder, and as you can see, it's quite a long one. It's taped on far more than the deltoid muscle itself, but that is not a problem. Tape is a sensory stimulus to your skin, and the underlying muscle will work, yes, but the skin movement is also of importance. So we had trialed a number of tapes, and we had definitely seen that taping on the shoulders had given the best results, but I wanted him to trial the P-tape as well, and we were interested in seeing which color was best, because he was using black a lot, and his body will tell us which color is good for him, yes or no. So I did get him to trial the P-tape, a tape developed first as a placebo application in 2 studies and later as the application, showing really good effect when compared to tapes meant for addressing the forward head posture. We were also seeing it was really addressing the total posture and balance of the trunk. Unfortunately, it felt horrible, and he could not tolerate tape in that position on C7 to T3 at all. And then we had some fun testing colors. So the idea is that you use the O-ring test, which we did have to adapt because it's normally done with the index or the middle finger. You make an O, you try to make an O, and the other person tries to pull them 2 fingers apart to see how strong you are. So that's what his partner was doing. And the moment he got his first tape, this one, he was actually weaker, something we have seen often. So the pink tape was definitely weakening him. He trialed 5 colors, and I don't know which one this is, but as you can see, the strength is back, so there's not really much of a difference between the first one. There seems to be a little bit of weakness, but it's not bad at all. That was blue. So blue was giving really good performance. And pink definitely made him weaker. So it really is fun testing this. And yes, he could not. He was really strong in both the black and the blue, and the beige was not that good. So conclusions that we can make. Well, first of all, tape is applied to the skin, to the epidermal layer of your skin and not to muscles. And Skin allows for muscles to move joints. If your skin doesn't move, you can't move. And tape does not have to be applied to the muscle, to the skin on top of the muscle from origin to insertion to be effective. You can use less, you can use more. The clinical reasoning for asking Stuart to please try the extensor and the diaphragm tape was the idea that, yes, lots of research is showing that if you have a trunk stiffness is high, the possibilities of your extremities is better. In the skin approach, I advocate using small bits, and it's clear that Stuart, being a healthy young man, needed lots of tape for effect. Mini tapes did not work with him at all. The tapes on the spinous processes were not okay. They felt horrible and were removed immediately. You have to do that if your patient tells you it's not good. The important messages, as far as I'm concerned, from Stuart are, slowly but surely in this process of the 7 months we've been in contact online, is that he found that his shaking really started and zeroed from his deltoids, not from the trunk, from his deltoids. And in time, he discovered he only needed to tape his left deltoid area, and even then the shaking on the right was better. So it's definitely a learning curve we are in the middle of. And also really interesting, because he had done this water test so often, muscle memory kicked in, brain memory, skin brain memory, and it meant that even just doing the test without tape was getting better as well. And it was great to hear this spontaneously from him, because he is so right. We're seeing this in the clinic as well. The epidermal layer of the skin and the brain come from the ectoderm. The skin is our largest sensory organ. The brain remembers these stimuli we give to the skin, and we use these properties in our ETT skin approach to taping by, for example, starting with a normal sized tape, and when we see that gives results, we will slowly downsize it in later sessions, or, for example, using a correction technique in therapy sessions might be we might not send the patient home with that stretch. We will send them home with a muscle technique using only 10% stretch and have the same effect because the brain. So thank you very much, Stuart. Thank your wife, thank your therapist for their assistance. Thank you for initiating this case study and allowing your message and your tape journey, discovering what's best for your tremors to be shared freely. You're a really wonderful example of how important the third pillar of evidence-based medicine, as discussed by Sackett, is. You are leading the way. Thanks to your therapist and wife, and hoping this will give colleagues many ideas and get them to try some stuff and use the skin, their patient's skin, as an extra assist, and hoping that this will trigger educators and scientists to initiate some really rigorous research on the topic of using tape to address tremors. Oh my goodness, that's the English and the Dutch mixing up. Esther Drew from the Netherlands, wishing you all a very nice day, evening, morning or night.